Jack discovered something terrifying. All flights had been canceled except for the one he was boarding. Looking at the dilapidated aircraft, he immediately felt uneasy. That feeling intensified as he entered the cabin. After taking his seat, Jack turned on the air conditioning, hoping to calm his nerves. Just then, two attractive women approached him, asking to switch seats. His friends signaled him to decline, but Jack agreed to their request anyway. As soon as he settled into his new seat, the tray table collapsed. When Jack tried to put it back, he discovered the latch was broken. He wanted to call a flight attendant for help, but the plane had already begun takeoff. While other passengers cheered, Jack remained troubled. As the aircraft gained speed, the fuselage began to shake violently. Panic spread throughout the cabin. Oxygen masks dropped from overhead, followed by a massive explosion. In the next instant, Jack jolted awake. He thought it had been just a nightmare, until those same two women approached him again, asking to switch seats. Alarmed, Jack rushed back to his friend's side. Sure enough, the tray table latch was broken. Everything he'd experienced wasn't a dream after all. Jack shouted that the plane was going to explode, but the other passengers only saw him as deranged. His classmates tried to restrain him as his behavior grew increasingly frantic. The situation descended into chaos, and eventually, Jack and his friends were forced off the flight. An enraged Bob started fighting with Jack, but seconds later, the plane actually exploded in midair. Everyone stared in disbelief at the devastating scene. All passengers and crew perished in the blast, except for Jack and his friends who had been removed from the flight. The next day, they attended a memorial service for the victims. Everyone who survived except Bob expressed gratitude toward Jack. Back home, Jack kept replaying the previous day's events in his mind. While lost in thought, an owl flew to his window. Irritated, Jack threw a book at it, but the book was shredded by a fan. A scrap of paper landed on his leg with his friend Todd's name written on it. Meanwhile, Todd was organizing his carefully collected stockings, unaware that death had already marked him. As he turned around, Todd slipped on a puddle of water and fell, his neck becoming entangled in the wire he used to hang his stockings. He tried to climb out of the bathtub, but spilled bath products acted as lubricant, making his efforts futile. After a brief struggle, his legs kicked out one final time in an abrupt death. Jack arrived only to see Todd's body being carried away. The following day, Jack gathered the remaining survivors at a coffee shop. While talking with a female classmate, he glimpsed a bus in the mirror, surely a sign of another impending death. As Jack wondered who might be next, Bob and his girlfriend arrived. Upon seeing Jack, the skeptical Bob immediately began mocking him. His girlfriend disagreed, siding with Jack's perspective. But then suddenly, due to copyright restrictions, we can only show you this much of the movie. It's called Final Destination.